Hello and welcome to our channel. So today we are going to do a really simple video on how to make basic wax melts. So before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications when we upload more content. So let's just jump straight into it. I'm going to just quickly go over everything that we need for your basic wax melt. So I would definitely recommend some gram scales because you're going to be working in small quantities. Some thermometer. This is the one I use. It probably you probably don't need this one to start out with. You can just use the metal thermometers that go in. You're going to need some fragrance oil of your choice. Today I'm using Peppermint Dream, and this is one of our fragrance oils, and you can find that on our website. You will need some vessels for the actual wax and something to stir it with. I tend to always have a heat gun on hand. This one is just from I think Screwfix, but any heat gun works. Probably one with a few different settings because you don't want it to be too fast that you're blowing the wax out if you need to heat it, or out of the molds or if you need to heat the back of them, anything like that. So heat gun. You're going to probably need some glitter. I'm going to open this here because it goes everywhere. Some glitter. It has to be cosmetic grade glitter, and it can never go in candles. You also need something to colour your wax if you want to colour it. Today I've got some Halloween themed moulds, so I'm going to go with orange and black for the wax. And I've got some mica, and I've also got some liquid dye, but I'll go over that in a minute. Mess. I've actually got my moulds as well. We've got 3 different ones today. We have the skulls, the pumpkin burners, and some more pumpkins. You will also need something to melt your wax in. So there's a few different things that you can use. We tend to use an actual melter, which is a big bucket and has a tap on the front, but a lot of people use like a double burner, a double boiler, sorry. And basically you'll pop your wax in this and it'll go in a pan with some water, and you'll gently heat it like that. When you buy your wax, our wax comes in granules, so it kind of looks like this. And this is Eco Cocoa that we're using. There's lots of different brands of wax that you can use. This is my favourite. This is what I work with. It's my go-to. I feel like it gives a good hot throw and cold throw for the scent, and it's just really lovely to colour. It's really shiny when it comes from the mould. It's just really all-round good wax, I think. But you don't have to use that. Just whatever wax you get, it will come with instructions on the temperatures that you need to use with it. I have been working with this wax now for over 2 years, so I'm pretty comfortable with the temperatures. And during this tutorial, I'm going to give you a basic overview of the temperatures for my Eco Cocoa wax. But when you're using your own wax or whatever wax you've chosen, it's worth pointing out that you'll have to stick with the temperatures that it says on your wax instructions, and you'll definitely have to have a lot of trial and error because nothing ever works straight away. It can, differ between rooms, times of the year, seasons and all that, so you do just need to kind of work with it a little bit. It's really worth noting that when you are picking a wax, if you are making wax melts from a mould like this, it's really important that you go for a melt blend, not a container blend. Container wax is made for candle vessels where the wax is needed to stick to the vessels slightly. Which means that if you use that wax in a mould, it will stick to the edges and you will struggle to get it out of the mould with like a clean demold. So basically, after going through all of that, what we're going to do is we're going to measure the amount of wax that we want, and we're going to melt that down. So for the minute, I'm going to go probably about 100 grams in each because we haven't got a lot of moulds, and just for ease, we're going to go for 100 each. Then I'm going to go through how we measure and measure the fragrance oil into the wax, and then mix the colours and then pour them into the moulds. Okay, now we have got our melted wax. We've got it in our little container here. I'm not sure if you can see that at all. It is really liquid. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slightly warm these vessels. If the vessels are cold, you're going to find that once the wax goes in, it's going to be too cold and it's going to cool it down really quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the heat gun and I'm just going to warm the vessel slightly. Now I've just warmed those up, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give them a quick temperature check, and as long as they're hot to the touch, then you can just continue on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the scales in, and we're going to measure the glass empty, the glass jar empty. So what we need to do is turn the scales on, and I'll pop them that way. Put the scales on, we need to pop the empty vessel on, and then we're going to zero the scales. That just gives you a weight of just the stuff that you're going to pop inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 100 grams in each. So I'm just going to pour that in until the scales say 100 grams. Okay, we've went slightly over, that's 102, but that's absolutely fine. And then we're going to do the same with this vessel. Just because the glass, they can differ, so we need to zero that again. And oh, went over by quite a bit that time. So we're just going to remeasure that. I just want to make sure that we was close to even on both of them as possible, because I'm going to use a simple technique on just to have dual colours in your wax melts. Right, that's both at 100. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the scales to the side, and then I'm going to quickly measure the temperature. Now it's worth noting that you must have your wax moving. You don't want to just measure one part of it, especially if you're using these thermometers, because it can give you false readings. So you do want to have your wax kind of moving. And the wax is currently at about 84 degrees, 86 on that one. So it is slightly too high at the moment to add our fragrance oil. So what I am going to do is I'm going to choose this time to add the colour into the wax. I'm just going to move this out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I want one of them to be black and one of them to be orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just first drop a couple of drops of liquid dye into the orange one. Now you don't need a lot, just a few little drops, and that's absolutely fine. And I'm also going to pop some mica powder in. Now I'm using Flame by Baltic Day. These are my favourite mica suppliers. It's always really pigmented. And I'm just going to give that a stir. Now I'm looking for the temperature to be around 75 when I add the fragrance, and then around 70-ish when I pour it. That's just what I find works best. And I'm also going to pop in some dye chips. Now I haven't got many of these left, so I'm going to have to order some more, but just a couple of those will do as well, and that will give it a really nice pigmented colour. And while I'm doing that, I'm just keeping an eye on my temperatures. So that's 78 at the minute, so I'm just going to pop some of the black dye chips into the black wax, and I'm going to just let that settle in the bottom and melt slightly before I stir that. So because this is at, we're at 76 now, so that's absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do is bring the scales back in, pop that vessel on, and I'm going to zero it again. Now because I know that I had 100 grams worth of wax in there, I'm going to do 10 grams of fragrance oil because I'm using 10%. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the easiest way I find to not spill this everywhere is to use your stirrer and just dribble it down the side. And I've got 10 grams there, so I'm just going to leave that. I'm just going to set that to the side, and I'm going to do exactly the same with this one. I'm going to just quickly check the temperature, and perfect, we're at 75. So we're going to do the same. So we're going to do 100 grams of the wax, which we've already got in the pot, and we're going to do 10 grams of fragrance. Okay, so I'm just going to pour that in. This smells amazing. Right, so I'm going to stir that now. So when you've got your fragrance in, you want to make sure that you're stirring very, very well. Now this is just to disperse the fragrance all throughout the oil, and you're just going to sort of mix for a little while just to make sure you've got all that, and just make sure that you're getting all of your dyes and your things off the bottom, and you haven't got any chips left on the bottom. And I'm just going to go in here. That orange is absolutely stunning. Now I can see that it's not quite pigmented enough, so I'm actually going to pop some more in. Okay, so that'll melt still. And Just going to make sure that it's stirred really well, and then I'm just going to, yeah, so we're down to say about 65, 67 on the wax, and that is where we want to be pouring. So we're just going to give it another quick stir. We're also now going to lay out our moulds just to get ready to make them. Now I've got some paper down because I always make a mess. So I've always got some wax paper down just so that I can keep my workspace a little bit tidy. So you're wanting to try and make sure that these don't get too cold. Another quick little trick I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly heat up the moulds. This just allows the wax to flow in all of those little creases. All of these moulds can be ordered on our website. So again, just checking that. And then I'm just going to, for one last time, just check the temperatures. And perfect, we're at about 64. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the 2 lots of wax and I'm just going to pour it into the cavities. So for some of them, I'm going to just do a double pour where I pour both colours in. And I've missed it. See, this is why you put the wax paper down. So you can see, hopefully you can see on camera, the effect that that gives with the little swirls. So again, I'm just going to do 2 pours. This smells absolutely amazing. I've chosen Peppermint Dream because it reminds me of Halloween candy and sweeties. And put that in there. And actually 200 grams of wax for that was not a bad guess at all. But what you can do, and a lot of my customers do, is, oh, I've went too much in that one. What they do is they melt their wax, they pour plain wax in the moulds. I'll just pop that over there to the side. They pour their wax in the moulds, just plain, no fragrance, no colour, into the moulds. They let it set, they take it out of the set, out once it's set, and then they wait, and then that gives you the weight of the moulds that you use, and you can write that down in your little jotter. And then when you come to make those moulds in the future, what you can do is you can only mix up the amount of wax you need. For people doing small pours, that works out really well for them, and that's just because there's no waste, there's no fragrance oil waste, and you're not making things, because I've only got a little bit left. But imagine if, you know, if that's over the course of weeks and weeks and weeks, you're going to waste a lot of product there. Normally I would have a spare mold to just pop that in, but I haven't with us today. So yeah, so that's basically everything at the moment, and all we're going to do is we're just going to wait for those to set, and then we're going to come back once they're set and we're going to demold them, and we're going to take a look at how they've come out. Okay, we are back now to have a look to see how these came out. They're still a little bit warm, but I think I'm going to risk it anyway, demolding them. So what we recommend when you demold them is that you just gently pull away from the sides, all 4 sides, and then you just pop your fingers on the bottom and just gently peel and push up, and they'll come out. I'm not sure if you can see that. And again, just gently from all sides so that they're quite loose, and just pop up from the bottom. And you can see pop up from the bottom. And you can just snap away any little bit of excess on the sides, and you can see that because we poured them, the orange and the black from 2 different sections, we've actually got like a double colour on there. And these are one of our new moulds, so I'm actually gonna do the same with all of the sides, and then just pop up, and then they'll come out. Oh, they are beautiful. And this one, there's a little bit of overspill, but we can sort that out after. Just pop them out as you would, and then that just peels off the side, and then you can just clean those up. And the same with the third one. Away from all of the sides, bend back and just pop out. They come out so incredibly easy. Okay, now These ones are pumpkin wax burners, and these are actually a little bit of a tricky demold, but we're going to go with the same thing. We're going to just peel away, and we're just going to pop up from the bottom, put our fingers underneath, and there we have it. We've actually just snapped a little bit of the bottom off there. That's just his teeth, and that's just because I demolded a little bit early. Hopefully this one, I'm going to do it this time like that. Okay, and just gently, you can see how flexible the molds are, so that you can just pull them right back if you need to, and then just gently pull the melts out the top, and there you have just a nice little melt. That's what happens when you're a bit impatient. You chip little corners off, but actually I think it gives them a little bit of character. But these are my absolute favourites. So cute. And there you have it, basic wax melts. Didn't take very long at all. Hopefully now you have a little bit of an insight into how to make basic wax melts. There is lots of other techniques in regards to painting them afterwards, adding, you know, glitters in. Actually, I just remembered I never added any glitter into these. There's techniques in where you take a little pipette and you pipette different colours in, but we're going to go over that into a different tutorial. So thank you for staying with us, and thank you for watching, and let us know how you get on in the comments making your own. Bye!